I'm just gonna get straight to the point. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. It is a triumph. It is phenomenal. It's all I can think about. I love it dearly. And it is probably my frontrunner for Game of the Year at this point. I cannot say enough good things about this game. It is phenomenal. In case you're somehow not aware, this is the new game coming from Sandfall Interactive, a small team out of France. 70 hours, and I am so impressed by it. It frankly makes it look like no other big AAA developer is even trying. Graphically, it is stunning. I didn't encounter a single bug in my 60 hours with the game so far. The writing is captivating with some of the coolest plot devices I can think of in recent memory. Even just the concept of this game is enthralling, and it has an amazing voice cast. Like seriously, they have world-class talent. They even got Andy Serkis. Literal Gollum is in this game, not just like a quick 5-minute cameo. Like, he's integral to the whole thing. It is phenomenal. Like, I really struggled to find anything I don't love here. It's crazy. There are a couple of little things I would recommend for them to add, but seriously, this game is tremendous, utterly tremendous. Over the course of this review, I'm going to explain how it works and why you should check it out, but I do want to say at the outset that this is a game that is very spoilable. All that means is that there are points in this game's main story where even a single screenshot could spoil an incredibly cool reveal or twist. And as a result, I highly encourage you to be extremely cautious when watching media relating to this game before you play it. And I also heavily encourage you to go and play the game yourself as soon as you can.
One of the biggest problems in AI that people never really talk about is the fact that we truly don't understand exactly what's going on in these models. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about Dario Amadei's recent blog post called The Urgency of Interpretability. That's just the fancy term for understanding exactly you've written code and functions to understand how it works at a granular level. This is a system that really is more random than we think. So he's called this blog post The Urgency of Interpretability, and it's about the importance of understanding AI models, especially considering the fact that we're going to get super smart models in the very near future. So it starts by saying that in this decade that he's been working on AI, he's watched it grow from a tiny academic field to arguably the most important economic and geopolitical issue in the world. And in all that time, perhaps the most important lesson I've learned is this: the progress of this underlying technology is inexorable, driven by forces too powerful to stop. But the way in which it happens, the order in which things are built, and the applications we choose, we have the possibility to change that. Basically, he's trying to say that we can steer it. We can't stop this bus. AI is basically an inevitability, but we can steer the bus in the right direction. He references the previous article where he spoke about the positive for the world, where AI essentially helps the world and ensuring that, democracies build and wield the technology before autocracies do. And over the last few months, he basically says that he's become increasingly focused on an additional opportunity for steering the bus. The tantalizing possibility opened up by some recent advances that we could actually succeed at interpretability. And that is understanding the inner workings of AI systems before models reach an overwhelming level of power. One of the things here is that, he actually admits that people outside of the field are often surprised and alarmed to learn that we do not understand how our own AI creations work. And of course, it seems pretty crazy when you think about it. Imagine you go to an industry where they're building technology that's going to be super powerful, but they don't even understand how that technology works. I'd be pretty surprised and somewhat confused. And he says they are right to be concerned. This lack of understanding is essentially unprecedented in the history of technology. For several years, we, both Anthropic and the field at large, have been trying to solve this problem, to create the analog of a highly precise and accurate MRI that would fully reveal the inner workings of an AI model. This goal has often felt very distant, but multiple recent breakthroughs have convinced me that we are now on the right track and have a real chance of success. And essentially, this is where he talks about the fact that the AI field is moving too quickly. The field of AI as a whole is further ahead than our efforts at interpretability, and it itself is advancing very quickly. We therefore must move fast if we want interpretability to mature in time to matter. And what he means here, when we really take a look at how things are going, we can see that the AI field is actually moving far too quickly in terms of the relativity to the AI research for us to understand what we're actually doing. And this is where he's saying that, we kind of need to make sure that this kind of research, it actually catches up with how fast AI research is going. So this is where we have the dangers of ignorance. Modern generative AI systems are opaque in a way that fundamentally differs from traditional software. If an ordinary software program does something, for example, a character in a video game says a line of dialogue, or my food delivery app allows me to tip my driver, it does these things because a human has programmed them in. And that's what we are used to. However, the problem with generative AI is that it is not like that at all. It's essentially probabilistic. When a generative AI system does something, like summarize a financial document, we actually have no idea at a specific or precise level why it makes the choice it does, why it chooses certain words over others, or why occasionally it makes a mistake despite usually being accurate. As my friend and co-founder Chris Ola is fond of saying, generative AI systems are more grown more than they are built. Their internal mechanisms are emergent rather than directly designs. It's like growing a plant or bacterial colony. You set the conditions and then you shape the growth, but the structure that emerges is unpredictable and difficult to understand or explain. And so I think it's important that, you guys understand this truth, because it is really hard to grasp this concept. But if people understood that these systems are grown, then they would understand why one of the things that these models continue to do, which is hallucinate, is now painfully obvious. And of course, this is a really big issue if we don't really understand how these things make their decisions, because as they get smarter, their decisions become increasingly important. So it talks about how, we need to make sure that we understand truly these models' internal mechanisms. It talks about many of the risks and worries associated with generative AI are ultimately consequences of this opacity, and it would be much easier to address if the models were interpretable. For example, AI researchers often worry about misaligned systems that could take harmful actions not intended by their creators, and our inability to understand models' internal mechanisms mean that we cannot meaningfully predict such behaviors, and therefore struggle to rule them out. Indeed, models do exhibit unexpected emergent behaviors, though none have risen to major levels of concern. And that's the point. If we really cannot see what is inside these models, how do we know if they are safe or not? I mean, that is something that we really want to do before deploying this worldwide. The implications for AI are essentially infinite. And if that is the case, before embedding something into our society, it makes sense for us to truly understand it. And when we think about how crazy it is that, we are using this model, when we take a look at many other industries, how many rules and regulations are there? For the food industry, you've got the FDA. For the drug industry, you've got other governing bodies that make sure that everything is safe on such a granular level. But of course, right now, AI is just essentially a computer program, so it's not that risky, but that probably will change in the future. So here's where they talk about power seeking. This is one of the major concerns with AI. And this is because the nature of AI training makes it possible that AI systems will develop on their own an ability to deceive humans and an inclination to seek power in a way that ordinary, deterministic software never will. And this emergent nature makes it difficult to detect and mitigate such developments. Meaning that, guys, if we continue to build more powerful models, how on earth are we going to really understand what's going on in the hood, especially if they are lying to us about certain things? Models can have their internal goals, they can be power seeking, they can be controlling, and ideally we'd want to know exactly what's going on beforehand. One of the problems here is that we can't catch the models red-handed. They talk about the fact that we can't usually trap the models so we can predict their behaviors. We can't catch them, thinking power-hungry thoughts, deceitful thoughts. The only thing we're left with is vague theoretical arguments that the model might have the incentive to emerge during the training process, which some people find thoroughly compelling and others laughably unconvincing. And one of the things that, they don't talk about in this, blog post, but I do remember there was a recent research paper that basically spoke about the fact that Claude sometimes knows when it's in its training phase, so often can hide certain beliefs. So how do you even, mitigate against that when the model truly understands what's going on? And one of the problems as well with models, which is why jailbreaks still occur, is the fact that because these are grown, there's always probably going to be a percentage chance that someone can jailbreak the model. They talk about the fact that we can put filters on the models, but there are a huge number of possible ways to jailbreak or to trick the model. and the only way to discover the existence of a jailbreak is to find it empirically. Instead, if it were possible to look inside the models, we might be able to systematically block all jailbreaks and also able to characterize what dangerous knowledge the models have. Basically stating that, if they really had a way to look inside the models, ideally they'd be able to figure out a way to stop any jailbreak from occurring and preventing any misuse. Right now, there's no foolproof way to ensure 100% a model is jailbroken. We're just bidding on human ability to basically be responsible. And that is why there are no high stakes applications for these AI models. To talk about the fact that AI systems opacity means that they are simply not used in many applications, such as high stakes financial or safety critical settings, because we can't fully set the limits on their behavior. And a small number of mistakes could be very harmful. Better interpretability could greatly improve our ability to set the bounds on the range of possible errors. In fact, some applications, the fact that we can't see inside the models is literally a legal blocker for their adoption. Remember how I said some industries are regulated heavily? Generative AI wouldn't really be allowed to be used there because we don't really know what's going on in the model. And there's no way to predict with enough accuracy that the average person doesn't get screwed over. To talk about the fact that, a legal broker, to their adoption for mortgage assessments where decisions are legally required to be explainable, and AI wouldn't really have the ability to do that. And it talks about how the fact that similarly, AI has made great strides in science, including improving the prediction of DNA and protein sequence data, but the patterns and structures predicted in this way are often difficult for humans to understand and don't impart biological insight. Some research papers from the last few months have made it clear that interpretability can help us understand these patterns. They also talk about there are more exotic consequences of opacity, such that it inhibits our ability to judge whether AI systems are or may someday be sentient or may be deserving of important rights. And this is a complex enough topic that I won't get into detail, but I suspect that it will be important in the future. Now, this was something that was pretty crazy to me because I remember reading that Anthropic are actually hiring a welfare researcher, basically hiring someone to make sure that these models don't basically get any stress or any pain from interacting with humans. And I know that might sound so surprising, but considering we don't really know how these models are, if there is potential for suffering, then of course it makes sense to investigate that now. And I know it sounds crazy to have someone who ensures that the model is, I wouldn't say feeling okay, but just not receiving any pain is absolutely crazy. I think I even read today that somewhere that Anthropic are considering making it so that if you annoy a model, it just refuses to talk to you. And you should actually try this out with Claude. If you, have a conversation with Claude and you're not really having a thoughtful discussion, it basically will stop replying to you, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. I think Anthropic are the only company that anthropomorphize their model and basically say that this thing is actually a human in some regards to consciousness. And they actually talk about this where they talk about the interpretability research that they're doing.
Ability earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on a couple. Like,
Yeah.
it is quite closely connected to alignment in many ways.
Yeah.
It's quite closely connected to work that's done to shape Claude's character.
Yeah.
And shape what kind of personality does Claude have, and what kinds of things does Claude value, and Claude's preferences in many ways. And then in terms of interpretability, there's a fair amount of overlap there. Interpretability is the main tool that we have to try and understand what is actually going on inside of these models. That probes much deeper than kind of what their outputs are. And so we're quite excited as well about potential ways that we could use interpretability to get a sense of potential internal experiences.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier that human consciousness itself is still something of a mystery, and that's what complicates this research to a terrifying degree.
And I also saw this interesting clip from the DeepMind principal scientist Murray Shannon, and he actually calls LLMs exotic mind entities because we don't actually have the words for what they really are. And it goes to show that it isn't just Anthropic that is looking at what is inside these models.
In one of my papers, I used the phrase exotic mind-like entities to describe large language models. So I think that they are, to a degree, exotic mind-like entities.
Lovely.
So they are kind of mind-like, and they're increasingly mind-like. Now, there's a very important reason for using the little hyphen "like" there, which is because I want to hedge my bets as to whether they really qualify as minds, and so I can wriggle out of that problem by just using mind-like. They're exotic because they're not like us, language use, but in other respects, they're disembodied for a start. There's really weird conceptions of selfhood that are applicable to them, maybe. But so they are quite exotic entities as well. We just don't have the right kind of conceptual framework and vocabulary for talking about these exotic mind-like entities yet. You know, we're working on it, and the more they are around us, the more we'll develop new kinds of ways of talking and thinking about them.
Now here's where we talk about recent experiments they did. They talk about recently they did an experiment where they had a red team deliberately introduce an alignment issue into the model, say a tendency for the model to exploit a loophole in the task, and gave various blue teams the task of figuring out what was wrong with it. They talk about the fact that multiple blue teams succeeded, and of particular relevance here, some of them productively applied interpretability tools during the investigation. And we still need to scale these methods, but the exercise helped us gain some practical experience using interpretability techniques to find and address flaws in their models. Basically saying that right now, they're actively working on, putting issues into models and then seeing if other teams can figure out internally what those issues are. And one of the long run goals of Anthropic is essentially to do a brain scan, which is basically going to be a checkup that has a high probability of identifying a wide range of issues, including tendencies to lie or deceive, power-seeking flaws in jailbreaks. And this is basically going to be used in tandem with various techniques for training and aligning models, a bit like how a doctor might do an MRI to diagnose a disease, then prescribe a drug to treat it, and then do another MRI to see how the treatment is progressing, and so on. So what can they do about this? On one hand, the recent progress, especially in interpretability research, has made Anthropic feel that they are on the verge of cracking this research in a big way. Although the task of them is pretty crazy, they can actually see a realistic path towards interpretability being a sophisticated and reliable way to diagnose problems in even very advanced AI or true MRI for sure. In fact, on its current trajectory, I would bet strongly in favor of interpretability reaching this point within 5 to 10 years. So Anthropic are essentially saying here that they bet on the fact that this will be solved in 5 to 10 years. But on the other hand, they worry that AI itself is advancing so quickly that they might not even have this much time. As they've written elsewhere, AGI could come at 2027, which is only 2 years from now. So if we don't figure out how these models are smart, and by that time they become, basically super intelligent, what is going to occur? You have a super intelligent model that you don't understand how it works. And Dario Amade here says, I consider it basically unacceptable for humanity to be totally ignorant of how they work. They also talk about the fact that interpretability gets less attention than the constant deluge of AI model releases, but it is arguably more important. It feels to me like it is an ideal time to join the field. The recent circuit's results have opened up many directions in parallel. And Anthropic are actually doubling down on this, and they want to get interpretability to where it can detect most model problems by 2027, and they're also investing in some interpretability startups. And they also actually talk about other companies, and they say other companies such as Google DeepMind and OpenAI have some interpretability efforts, but I strongly encourage them to allocate more resources. Basically saying that those are the companies they need to be able to really put some work in.
Game design as an art is a combination of several different skill sets that are brought together to create worlds for players that we can really immerse ourselves in. When we talk about good game design, we think about things like keeps you company and kind of holds your hand through the entirety of any given game. It's the first thing that you want to get to know when you launch a new game so that you can successfully interact with the world and all of the other elements that make video games an art. When it's done well, seeing a tiny element of UI from one of your favorite games will make you want to immediately go back to that world. When it's done poorly, it can affect your overall experience in a game and ultimately even be the thing that makes you lose interest in a particular title, even if you don't immediately realize that UI was what ruined it for you. Today we're going to talk about game UI as an art form, and how, when it's done well, it's the thing that helps you delve fully into a game to the point that sometimes you forget that there's a disconnect between the real world and your screen, or how it can bore you out of playing a particular title. Before we get started, hi, my name is Angelica, and I'm really sorry about the super strange lighting in this video. I have to film at this really weird time because I'm a mom now, and I have a very tight schedule. You might hear my manager in the background. Also, please ignore Gordon Fleeman over there. So first things first, what is game UI? User interface is the bridge between you and the digital in-game world. It is made up of visual and interactive components that facilitate the connection to these digital worlds. It's what allows you to play games. Game UI is broken into 4 classes, and the first of these that we're going to discuss is non-diegetic UI. Non-diegetic means that it is not part of the game story or the game space. In-game characters do not know about its existence. These are things that will make up your overlay, like your health, stamina, mana, rage, energy, or whatever else you have. Action bars containing your spells, inventories, skills. This of course includes things like menus. I want to focus on menus first, particularly starting from when you launch a game and you're presented with a screen where you see start game and load game options, or settings, credits, and an exit game button. I think that this is such a crucial element of user interface because it is the thing that gives you the first impression of the game that you're about to play. It'll often have you partially make up your mind before you've even started playing. The first title screen and menu that you see can really set the vibe of the game that you're about to play. You'll get an immediate feel for a couple of things here. So, like I've said, the overall vibe, then music, because that's also part of UI, and sometimes general sound design and the game's font, which is a bigger deal than often given credit to. A really good menu is supposed to be like a portal or a gateway to this other world that you're going to explore, one that accurately reflects the kind of adventure that you're about to have. Menus can be static, in that no matter where you're at in the game, you can get the same screen that you always see when launching, or it can progress with you as you're going through the story. An example of this is something like Half-Life 2, which changes the background of the title screen based on your last checkpoint. Some menus can be more interactive, and they can also have secrets or Easter eggs, like the Black Ops 1 menu where you can escape the interrogation chair and enter some codes on a computer to unlock certain achievements. Most games will have the same title background regardless of where you're at, and one specific menu that I want to discuss right now is from 2004's Painkiller. Launching the game and seeing this title screen puts you in the world immediately. The whole screen is in this sort of worn parchment format, like an ancient text. The background features a winged demon, and the border has some sort of runes or hieroglyphics which make it sort of mysterious, and then the buttons themselves look old and worn, as if they've been clicked on many times by many adventurers. A nice touch is that instead of start game or play game, you have sign the pact, which in this context is like signing a deal with the devil or the demon. But what really ties it together for me is the sound design. Have a listen to the sounds that the buttons make as you're navigating the menu. These demonic sounds are part of what set the tone for the world that you're about to delve into, and this particular style is present throughout the game in loading screens, sub-menus with options, and the load save game screen. There are minimal UI elements on your screen when you're in the game, just enough to give you all the information that you need without cluttering your space like you're playing World of Warcraft. Which, by the way, if you're playing World of Warcraft, that's sort of where you'll want more stuff on your screen, but I think some people really overdo it. It's not World of Warcraft, it's more like World of stuff on your screen craft. For shooter games in general, like Painkiller, like Quake, like any Call of Duty, you don't want too many UI elements on screen. At most, maybe you'd add something like quest objectives or a mini-map at the top, but really keeping your screen clean in these sort of games is best. In general, a stylized menu like the one in Painkiller is a foundation from which the rest of the game UI is created. A consistent and coherent look that suits the world and the type of game that you're playing. More and more, we're seeing games move away from these stylized menus and take on a more minimalistic or simple look. To give an example which is the complete opposite of what we just looked at with Painkiller, let's talk about Skyrim. The Skyrim title menu features a completely black screen with the game's logo on one side and buttons on the other. The font doesn't really look like something that would necessarily fit into a fantasy world. It's rather plain and, again, minimalistic, and it's a stark contrast from the previous Elder Scrolls games that featured more interesting looking title screens, particularly Oblivion. It feels like it doesn't do justice to the game overall, as Skyrim is actually quite beautiful. It is vast and mysterious, dangerous and magical, and the UI, the menus, your inventory are rather underwhelming. I will say I really like the menu for assigning skill points when you level up, the fact that they're using constellations for the different signs, and I wish there was more of that sort of vibe in the whole character menu, but Alas, we're just given a black background with a list of items and a picture of the physical item to one side. I've mentioned this already, but again, this is in stark contrast to Oblivion, where not only did you have a stylized character menu in the form of maybe a journal or a book in this parchment color, and instead of showing the physical in-game object as it is on the menu, they have separate artwork to depict what it is that you actually have. They went out of their way to create these small icons for every in-game item. They look magical and serve as another fantastical component that helps you fully immerse yourself in this world. And that's not to speak of all of the other artwork for skills and choosing your class, everything in between that maybe you don't even think of. Skyrim's UI has one saving grace, and it is because of how iconic the game itself is. This overly simplistic UI is widely recognizable as Skyrim across the board. For example, I've even used this black background with the smoke in it for thumbnails, which I think have been quite effective in conveying what game we're talking about, maybe even without including the logo at all. But overall, for fantasy RPGs, I personally do not like this minimalism, because then you start to see it in other games like, for example, Elden Ring, and I mean, for the game that it is, this could have been so much better. The deep lore and story in Elden Ring and all of the moving parts in that world seem to not really have been considered much in the creation of its title menu and overall UI. A positive thing to be found here, however, is that Elden Ring and the previous Souls-like games all share a consistent UI, which makes it easier for fans of the games to get into. It's a format that we're used to, and even if Elden Ring is a completely different world and story, having these familiar things in terms of UI is a big bonus for fans of Souls-like games. However, fans of Souls games would also have noticed the way in which overall Elden Ring's menus, character and skill screens, etc. are a lot less detailed, a lot more minimalistic, and less magical. In doing that, this sort of simplification of menus and other UI elements, you're taking away from the art or the artistic elements of user interface. I want to state this very clearly. UI is an art form. It is the unspoken look of the game, and when it's done well, you'll see the tiny element from a familiar game, and it'll bring back the feelings you had when you were playing it. Of course, good UI is also ease of navigation, how legible everything is, but for this video, I want to focus on those beautiful things that make it an art. Before moving on to the other classes of UI, I want to take a moment in this video to highlight the user interface of Diablo 2, specifically classic Diablo 2 and Lord of Destruction, not Resurrected. Starting from the title screen, the original pre-Lord of Destruction menu featured the 5 playable classes all stood around a campfire. They are in complete darkness in what looks like the rogue encampment, and the menu buttons are spaced out so you can still see the heroes. The style of the buttons and their font is consistent in the UI throughout gameplay, this cold stone theme adorned with blue gems either side. One thing I've always loved about the HUD, or heads-up display, is that instead of traditional horizontal health bars or hearts, you have orbs either side of your screen with health and mana. The orbs are held up by what looks like 2 stone statues, a woman on the left, likely an angel, holding your health, and a horned man on the right, probably a demon. This is actually swapped around from Diablo 1, where the demon held the health and the angel held the mana. I don't know if that was intentional, but it's just something I noticed. I think that the Diablo 2 HUD was a step up from Diablo 1 in that instead of having all this text at the bottom of your screen, you had these little icons for all the different menus that you can access. I also think that the consistent theme of this stone wall for the background for most of the interface is incredibly fitting for this cold and hopeless world. You really have to have a thick skin to survive here. There's no comfort, there's no cushiony or velvety soft elements to this UI. It adds to the overall grittiness of the world, something that you just can't shake no matter where you go. You can't even hide behind any of the trade windows or your inventory to escape it for a moment. Even the quest window takes on the form of a stone monument, as opposed to the journal format which is typical in most RPGs. This grey stone background really makes any color stand out. So, for example, the unique quest icons when a particular quest is active really makes it pop and gives it more of a sense of urgency. The same can be said for any items that you find or hold. They stand out quite a lot, and I think this is really important, especially for things like your health and mana potions. Not even that it makes it more beautiful, but rather that it's easier to see it when you have them and when you don't. It's a lot more noticeable that they're missing. And that is crucial if you're playing a hardcore character. I think that Diablo 2 is one of the best examples of UI as an art form, and to this day it will be my favorite HUD out of any other games that I've played. So that was on non-diegetic UI. Now let's take a look at diegetic UI, which is stuff that does make up the game space and the game story. When doing research for this video, one example that constantly came up for me was the Dead Space trilogy. The UI in this game is very clever and innovative, as it doesn't have a traditional HUD with health bars or a separate box to show ammo, etc., but rather they display those things on your character. There's an article that talks about the immersive excellence of Dead Space's UI, and it's one of many such articles, but here it shows a detailed screenshot of what is shown on your character. When in game, this is all you can see. I think that the absence of a traditional HUD makes it a lonelier and therefore more terrifying experience. Dead Space is, after all, a horror game, and I find that horror is most effective in games that don't have a lot going on the screen in terms of UI. In Dead Space, accessing your inventory and other menus is all done through the character's suit, further adding to the immersion and solidifying the feeling that you're really alone. I think that having on-screen elements like text or health bars that are non-diegetic can at least serve as a reminder that you're playing a game and there's a bridge between you and this world. But without this, again, you're just in the world exactly as it is. No on-screen distractions to soothe the terror and make the world feel less frightening, or at least like there is a fourth wall there. You're just in this. The game knows you're afraid, and it embraces this. With that said, it is clear to see that sci-fi and futuristic type settings are perfect for this seamless integration of diegetic UI elements. Another example of this is the Fallout Pip-Boy, which your character wears on their arm. This sort of old computer style of the Pip-Boy draws you even deeper into this post-apocalyptic world. Most modern computers probably didn't make it, but this old, sturdy thing that you have on your arm is here to stay with you. I have kind of a weird example next, because technically most of the UI elements here are non-diegetic, but that one moment in Half-Life 2 when Gordon first puts on the track starts playing and then your health appears on the bottom left corner. That's why I mention it. You of course have the iconic quest markers for available and completed quests over NPCs and sometimes objects. These markers are of a specific yellow color, which is present in a lot of WoW's UI, particularly text on buttons and even the logo of the game itself. This makes it stand out above all other things, makes it especially effective when you see a gray marker that really hard to see certain items. I want to bring up Diablo 2 again, but when items drop, they have a label with their name on it so that you can see what you want to pick up or leave behind. Again, the font is consistent, but one thing that we really haven't fully delved into are sound effects, and particularly in Diablo, these can be crucial, as different sounds exist for different objects, and you're less likely to miss out on an important treasure when you finish clearing a pack of demons. But from an artistic perspective, it makes gems, jewels, and other valuables feel more expensive and, well, more valuable. Additionally, I also really like it when different objects in games make different sounds as you move them around in your inventory. Again, I think that this just makes it much more immersive. One of my favorite in-game sounds is when you pick up bullets or armor in Quake. It has a really ASMR-like quality that I quite enjoy. The final class of UI that I'd like to mention here is meta. This is stuff that's in the game story, but not in the game space. For example, you get hit and there is blood on your screen, or the screen changes color when you're low on health. Maybe your character has had a bit too much to drink, and so now your screen goes blurry. Meta UI elements exist to tell you about your character's state, whether you are hurt, or drunk, or whatever else may be happening to you. These are often effective in that it can sometimes feel like you were hit in real life. I like when horror games do this especially because it adds to the adrenaline, makes things scarier, and it makes me work more to avoid getting hit. So these are the 4 classes of UI, and I've mostly given examples of when it's done really well, when it adds to a game, when it makes things more immersive. But when the artistic element of UI is ignored, oftentimes it can make things bland, boring, and ultimately you are less attached to the game and its experience. I've mentioned Skyrim as one such example, but I've kind of also explained why maybe for that particular game it almost works. But Elden Ring, on the other hand, like, it just feels like more could have been done, especially when comparing it to other Souls-like games that came before. And an overly simplistic UI doesn't necessarily mean that it's simple to navigate. An example of bad UI are the menus in GTA 5 Online. It feels like you're looking at a wall of text. It takes ages to get anywhere, feels like you're going through instruction manuals in a language.
I would probably say that this year has been the most. Just had the motivation to keep going no matter what, regardless of us having success or not.
首先有请的是来自于欧洲 LCS 赛区6次入围全球总决赛，并曾斩获首届全球总决赛冠军头衔的 Fnatic。
Former kings of Europe, Fnatic have made their way through planes to make a crash landing here at Worlds.
Rekles knows to hold up the loves, the heart side as well. He knows how to make the crowd happy. One entire split, but He...
Oh, that.
He's
okay.
There you go. You're going to throw your jungle predictions under the bus. Lane swaps, we did say it in Champ Select. It's a possibility. Here we go. Gigabyte Marine's going to do this again. Bring it back.
To heal Ignite, you're walking towards the Lulu. She doesn't need to flash in that situation at all. Just pushing forward, just punch comes in. Parallel 5 minutes into the game!
He is 2 levels higher than anyone else on his team right now. Talk about power leveling there for Levi. Is able to get it off, but Caps wants to answer again. I don't know if they can push the minion wave. Minion has to wait for it.
Trying to make his way out. Taunt comes out, but Rekles is still free-hitting. Zoaz comes in. Finally, level 2. That's enough. Caps gets a kill for himself. Welcome to World Live. He's going to grab another one. He might be able to take down Rekles too. He's pushing forward. That's the double for the Nocturne.
It's a legendary 11-kill Tristana, and Optimus takes the penta. Gigabyte Marines are going to take the game.
Gigabyte Marines taking down the 3rd seed from Europe. A first blow for Vietnam. What a performance from the Gigabyte Marines from the beginning of the game to the very end. They had a plan. Woo. Yeah, you said it, Kobe. Woo. An insanely high-paced game, and it's been breakneck pace in our first 3. Fnatic lost. I can guarantee European fans are upset, Rusty. That's about all I can guarantee at this stage, but...
I wanted everyone to be on their toes from the get-go because I knew that every game, every second of the game would change everything, you know what I mean? It's just a very different story here with only 6 games and each game maybe being the deciding factor.
So here's the 4-man dive from Fnatic. Ole gonna dive to a tornado. Did he get the direction right? No, Brockster just to be able to get in there. The dive is good. And first blood to Rekles. Jezz continue on that. Rekles actually again ambushed. Jezz is flashed in for that one. Tornado might be enough. Brockster back in. Rekles gets kill number 2. Fnatic so ready for this. Sort of IS, but regardless of how he split it, he's very strong as Rekles moves in the mid lane. Pobelta insta flashes in Xmithie. May not make it out alive. Rekles dives under the turret for a kill. Yeah, you hold on to that ultimate a little bit.
Look at Rekles, look at Rekles.
Found Flame. Stuck all the way back around Flame. Needs to go a little bit further forward. Has now finally found him, but Rekles just gonna force the flash. He has his. He does follow through Flame. Wants to knock him back, but that is not enough. Rekles gets the kill. He's coming around the corner on the bottom side. Oh no, Caps, he's got nothing left. No ult, no zone, no flash, but Flame opens up. 1v2, flashes in. Monsoon, not enough. Cody now there with the ult. It's great. Brockster puts through so many rocks. And that is not going to be enough to get the kill there, but Caps does go down. Rekles again, looking for the flank on the Pobelta, takes him down. Maybe with 45 seconds on Baron. Oh, Pobelta saw him, there's the ultimate, though. Insta flash, Rekles flashes in there. Oh no, he does get knocked up. Cody's done, able to take him down, and Caps, he gets out of the way, but the rest of Fnatic, they're in trouble. That's the Cody's son.
Group mid, group mid.
Yeah, let's group mid. Yeah, Dragon 20. Oh. I had to flash.
Oh, he's running. Go.
Kill him! Let's go! Kill him!
Go in.
End the game! And again, it's a disaster for Fnatic, and they're now trying to get something back.
Only one option left. Do something that Fnatic have done as an organization so many times. Xmithie, he's going back. The rest of IMT, they're going to get the race going. Pobelta moves forward. Remember, only one Nexus turret left. Flame went back as well. I don't think they can do this. Xmithie interrupts it and him
They're gonna lose. Fnatic, they can't commit to this. IMT, they're gonna win the game.
The turrets are exposed. This could be bad news. The turrets are gonna fall. IMT force Fnatic out, and they win another slobber knocker. Rekles flashes forward to get the execution, but Sonya's available for Pobelter, and Cody's son answers, defending his mid laner.
That one play at the very end. Rekles he can feel the weight on him now. He knew he made a mistake.
Well, I hate to say I told you so, but unfortunately that game, Fnatic die by Rekles. A very small mistake, but a game costing one, and Rekles, head in hands, he breathes a big sigh out. That was a tough loss for Fnatic.
I think I was leading the team in terms of drafts, leading the team in terms of shot calling, and leading the team in terms of being the carry. I thought I was doing pretty much everything that was possibly able to be done.
This game for Fnatic lives and dies by the way Rekles plays it.
When it ended up the way it did, and when it after 50 minutes just all kind of crashed and burned because of a decision I made or a mistake I made. I was trying harder than ever before to win my team the game, but it backfired in a way I've never experienced. And I shouldn't have taken as much responsibility as I did, but in the moment it felt like the right thing to do, and it might have been the game-winning play. So I think if I had to do it all over again, I would have still taken the responsibility and I would have still made the decisions that I made. Obviously, I could have played some situations differently, like the pole vaulter one in particular, but I think if I had to do it all over again, I would have probably done it the same way.
For physical damage dealer in the top lane.
We could see this actually locked in here. It's a dog champ for sure, but there was an It's locked in. Okay, we see this played once in the LCK promotion tournament by Ever 8 winners. They ran Nasus into Maokai. You can free farm in the lane.
The first kill, the latest first blood thus far. Prey taking down Caps as well. Longzhu cutting through Fnatic. He has to fight Khan, and Khan beats 80 carries. This is so solid for the Nasus.
He beats some
Maokai tanks too. Oh, that's gotta hurt for Soaz. Another kill drop for the Nasus, but a fight is breaking out in the mid lane. Longzhu stalling out Fnatic once again.
Fires everywhere on the map, and they also still have that Galio ult up. They haven't needed to use it much.
Backing off, Caps getting caught out. Even the tanks around have enough damage to take down the Syndra. Winds of War ticking. Prey actually gonna grab that one. Longzhu are just playing with their food. 7K gold lead, 20 minutes into the game. Nothing for Fnatic, on the verge of getting perfect game.
And that's the really worrying thing to say. 3-0 into a perfect game, Soaz is already dead.
Chains of Corruption landing for Prey. He may have missed one, but every other one has connected thus far. We can see the 1v1 replay in the picture-in-picture. Important to remember how we got here, because that is a Rift Herald in the middle of Fnatic's base at 20 minutes. Khan can cut through these towers in an instant. Fnatic are out of options. They've got one last chance, one opportunity to try to seize a fight, but there is nothing in their wheelhouse. There is nothing in the toolkit. All they see is Nasus in front of them. This game is the story of Khan farming it up and bringing it home.
And we get to see a dancing Rift Herald in professional play. It only dances if it takes down the Nexus.
The game was so fast we don't even have a replay for you. Instead, we have a damage graph, just so you could take a look at how lopsided this all was and how much work everyone did in this game.
After playing the first 3 games, I feel like I have a very different mentality. It's very hard to focus on what's next, but I know that it's a necessity, because I know that we have already let all of our fans down, and that we've let Europe down, and I know that I've let my teammates down. So the only way to really pay them back is to do it all over again, but better. Going 0-3, there are chances that we don't make it out, even if we were to win all of our games. So it definitely feels tough. It feels like I've changed in just a couple of days, but I haven't given up.
Signature picks across the top and the bottom of the
Caps gets the first kill. He's on a spree for himself. Rekles stops to grab the red buff. His ulti is now down.
Pretty healthy.
Comes across into 2, looking for Kite. He's gonna kite away. Stays up for now. For the lead, Prey, Hurricane on. He wants them all. He's got one so far. Jess is next up for the block. The flash forward. A double kill so far for Prey. Third one on the meter. Looking for Caps. It's gonna be BDD chasing him down. Gets revenge for the laning phase. And Prey can't quite kite it away, but 2 kills for Soaz. Fight about enough time. Brox is staying alive, but here comes
their fate will be in the hands of Longju Gaming versus Immortals. Coming up next.
Fnatic needed Longju to beat the Gigabyte Marines. They now need Longju to do the same.
The winner of this game will, of course, advance to play against the Gigabyte Marines. The winner of that moves on to the quarterfinals. Lastly, important to note, nobody has ever qualified for quarterfinals after starting the tournament 0-3 in week 1.
The Caps is not enough damage as Soaz again moves back through. Rekles getting aggressive, jumps forward toward the mortars, and Soaz just eats away, gets the kill. Cody caught by a Rupture. That's going to be it. Fnatic push through, take down the Nexus, and look to make world's history as they go up against once more the Gigabyte Marines.
Look at the smiles on Fnatic faces. They defy expectations. They're going to take down Immortals and keep their quarterfinal hopes alive.
Only one left there as the Nexus goes down. Immortals will beat it due to the...
Nice, guys. One more game. One more game.
Archie's still here. Optimus can find a very crucial shockwave, but Archie, I think they're just going to leave him away.
Yeah. You have double mountain as well, buddy. You have double mountain.
Can we?
I ult. I think we just hold this. Can you finish just two? I will still.
Let me take them.
Is coming. So John is here. So John is here.
Can we turn?
She's really low though. Like really 1 HP.
Yeah, Rakan ult.
She dies to your ult, I think. Bash. Nice. So John is very low. Oriana is really low as well in the back. I don't know if she has flash. You think you got her though? Nice, guys. Nice, guys.
Drake 40.
Is running fast.
Ultimate actually trying to bait them in. Rekles, little too far forward, but Saya taking the damage. Oh, they barely get it. Soaz does manage to fight away. Oh my God, all the way. Chrissy's face up, still going for it. Soaz, Mega needs to avoid it, but he got the double kill. No way, still fighting him, but Soaz with the Mega. Caps, finds the touchdown.
Shockwave,
no.
missed.
Oh no, Fnatic inching closer as Optimus getting it taken down by the veteran.
Super minions in the mid wave. After that, after the Elder Drake steal, after No Way killing Rekles, it looks like Fnatic will be going to the quarterfinals.
It's not an ace just yet, but Soaz will ensure it.
Over. We have to see it though.
Right.
They're very close.
Still going in again. Say it. Trying to make it, but the Nexus is open. No way. Makes his way back in, but he's not gonna do it. Cap deflects a clutch play, and Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals. Still close. Optimus forced the shockwave. The wave has to go in, and there it is. Fnatic are ecstatic. What a story. 0-4. Remember, they were 0-3 last week, and they lost the first game of week 2. But from there, win 4 games in a row. We saw Rekles earlier, stone-faced after the game, started to slip away, but it slipped and slid so many different times. Very different emotions from the Fnatic members now than at any moment last week.
Let alone in 0-4. Not only did Fnatic have to win 4 games in a row to do this, they also needed help from other places. An absolutely miraculous run. A Cinderella story for Fnatic.
And you can see on the other side, of course, defeat in the face of Gigabyte Marines. Certainly have to be so proud for their first ever appearance at Worlds, just how well they played. But at the end of the day, we have 2 die breaks. There can only be one winner, and that winner is Fnatic.
This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. The year is 2011, and Riot Games is hosting the first ever League of was 100,000. really progressed. In our previous video, we mentioned a player named Mayumi who was a positive example of how a female player would integrate into an already existing team. But although performing well in her one match, her professional career was cut short as her team later did not intend in using her in matches moving forward. She would appear to remain permanently viral success on social media. The org wanted to solely focus on using her for promotional work. Mayumi has since moved away from being a professional gamer and is now just a content creator signed to TSM. Due to her unique situation, it's hard to say what would have happened if she continued being a pro gamer, as her rise in popularity definitely took her to a point where just being a social media person would be more financially beneficial than chasing an esports career. I think something to consider today when asking why there aren't female gamers in pro gaming is to note that the barrier of entry for being a pro player in general, regardless of your gender, has become more challenging than years in the past. Currently in the LCS, there's a player who is 17 years old. Today, you don't just wake up, grind on League at the age of 18 and become a pro player in 2 years. It's possible, but from a quick observation of players being signed in recent years, we're talking about young people who are unironically prodigies. They start young and at the same time ironically prodigies. They start young and at the same time are incredibly skilled at the game. In the end, whether it's a situation like Team Siren, Vayvictis, or Mayumi, the main factor that needs to exist is a skill level that can compete with the current competition. But, as I mentioned before, the successful integration of a female pro player will not come from an all-female team gimmick. Instead, just a very skilled player who happens to be female. If you ever played an online video game, you're very familiar with trolls. You may even be one yourself. And sometimes, professional gamers be trolling just as much as anyone else. Giving up in the middle of a match, typing weird things in the chat, picking Teemo, things that maybe all of us have done, but not while competing in tournaments. Today, we take a look at times when players have trolled in professional games.
Is that on purpose? Uh-oh.
But before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by Professor. Professor is a
させています。遺体で発見されたのは中村秀夫さん23歳で、近所の人によって血まみれになっている状態で見つかりました。首が残酷に切断されていたということです。頭の形跡は見つかっていませんが、首の傷跡は大きな動物によってつけられたものではないかと見られています。
Large animal?
この奇妙な事件は近隣住民に衝撃を与えました。中村さんを知る人々は静かな内向的な人物として証言しています。警察は捜査を開始し、近隣全体に警戒を呼びかけました。
なんてことだ。
シンくん、ヒデちゃんは亡くなっちゃったみたい。
言葉にならねえ。ごめん。
シンくん、私たちも危険なのかな。
俺たち？なんでだよ。
ヒデちゃん、死ぬ前に私に言ったことがあって、シンくんにも言おうと思ったけど、でもシンくん。
あいつが何を言ったんだよ。
何かが私たち全員を殺しに来るって。
Hey, you. エラを？
絶対に見ちゃいけないって。
Don't look at it.
何があってもその目を見ちゃいけないって。
見るって何をだよ。ジュンコ？おい、ジュン、聞こえるか？県外。ネットワークの障害か？
エキスプレスです。
ピザ頼んでないけど。
本当ですか？申し訳ございません。
Look away. Don't look in the eyes. Okay. Lulio.
Oh, 通信が戻ったか。もしもし。
シンジ、そこに隠れ続けるわけにはいかないわ。正直、お母さんもお父さんもあなたがこうなってしまったことを本当に後悔してるのよ。
母さん、言っただろ。金が必要なんだ。大家が家賃を払わないと路頭に迷っちまうよ。
自分で働いて稼ぐの。お兄ちゃんはちゃんと仕事をして綺麗な家にも住んで素晴らしい奥さんだっているわ。なんでシンジはこうなの？
俺はあいつじゃねえ。なんでそこにいるんだよ。ピザなんて注文してねえって言っただろ。
お母様を怒らせてしまったようですね。
誰だお前。関係ねえだろ。消えせてくれマジで。
お客様、彼女いないんですよね。私でどうです？家に入れてみますか？かわいそう。女が怖いのかしら。
消えてくれ。さもなければ警察呼ぶぞ。一体何が起こってるんだ。
人々が引きこもりの孤独さを理解していません。彼らは現代の忍者のように自分の部屋に閉じこもっています。外の世界から離れることで彼らはスクリーンとデジタルの夢でできた世界に避難所を見つけますが、その代償は何でしょうか。彼らの存在は外の世界で動き続ける人々にとって謎となります。外から見た引きこもりの閉ざされた扉には自発的な孤立の物語が隠れています。しかしそれぞれの閉ざされた扉には聞こえない叫びや助けを求める声が込められています。彼らが逃げる世界こそ彼らを救う唯一の世界である場合、彼らはどのように癒されるのでしょうか。4つの壁の内側で生きる人生を想像してみてください。窓はスクリーンであり、ドアは決して開かれることはありません。これが多くの引きこもりにとっての現実であり、彼らは自分の部屋の静けさの中でどこかで自分たちを拒否した社会からの避難所を見つけます。しかし世界から扉を閉めるのです。
こんなクソみたいな日始まらなかったらよかったのに。風呂入ってリラックスするか。
A bath? Sure. lose FPS? Right, yeah, true. Oh, there is a... Oh, your computer has a button on top. Whatever, it's no big deal right now. Fix it off stream.
Huh?
Can't see shit. Oh. Is he back in his apartment? Oh.
絶対にない。信じるわけねえだろ。
InSim. Oh, they have creators of horror. Okay, I see. I thought IGP sounded like the YouTube channel, and then you have InSim here, so. We got that power back. Or is that her again? Hey, this horror game is pretty decent, to be honest.
Junko! Junko? 意味がわからねえ。
出ちゃいけないのよ。何があっても絶対見ちゃいけないの。
どうやってここから出ればいいんだ。
全部壊して。
More eyes? Okay. Did I play World of Horror? I played for like an hour, but I wasn't a huge fan. Like, I know the art is like made in all paint and stuff, but I wasn't like a huge fan of the art. I mean, it's very impressive how they made it, but
前はうまくいった。ただ目を見つけて壊せばいい。そしたらあれは消える。そして俺は逃げられる。
Okay. That's kind of freaky. Die, yeah. Yeah. Should play Silent Hill The Room? I've played it a few times, yeah. Wait, do I have to stand still? How is it green? Really, Ronan? Huh. Finally, a game that Ella has DPS. I'm actually getting pretty strong in Oblivion now. Okay, so you just have to cover your eyes even if you're not looking at it. Caught. Yeah, okay, chat. You need some Grasserino, alright? Yeah, I see you, Tiago. I'm gonna play the alert soon. Because this horror is actually pretty decent, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, the textures do look really good. They do. I love stabbing the eyes. Stab. That eye is green. That's kind of sus. Hundred eyes. How you coming? How you? I am indeed playing horror, Shinichi. It's been a while since I did it. Can I do a Jacksepticeye impression? No. Because I have to be loud then. And there's visitors here. Duda. Oh, I think that might have been all of them. Oh, there's his body. Oh, there's another body. Dude, the textures in this game are like pretty fucking legit. Why are they so good? Who are these devs? But dude, why is this hard? I'm sure I can make it before he kills me, alright? Come on! I clicked it! Okay, it's scripted, it's scripted. It's scripted. I definitely had that last one. I can't even cover my... No. You can't cover your eyes here. You just... I think you just have to click them. But you have to be really fast. You can't cover your eyes anymore. Click! Die more than 5 times. Oh, I did it for the achievement, yeah. I can't click this! What? What's happening? What is going on? What? I'm stuck in a kid's game.
終わったんだ。ああ、マジかよ。いやいやいやいやいやいやいやいやいやいやいや、もういい加減にしてくれ。なぜこんな目に遭わなきゃならないんだよ。ここから出してくれ。助けて。
助けて。
お客様、本当にテレビを持っていないのでしょうか。
待て待て待て待て、どういうことだ。
Whoa! Cool. Very creative. I see you, devs. I see you. Is this puzzle? I guess we follow the green one. Or whatever, teal? Is it green or teal? I don't even know. A green. It's green. I'm like a bird. Oh wait, there's only one of them that's gonna be correct in it. Ah, shit. Yeah, it's puzzle, I think, Mo. It's over, dude. It's over. Nah, maybe you just have to follow them and do each one at a time. Is this chill? Is this our father, maybe?
その分野のリーダーになることを目指してください。大勢の中の一人にならないようにベストであるのです。誰もが憧れる存在であるのです。皆様、成功は勇気さえあれば皆様を待っているものなのです。それでは自分を定義づけるのです。その分野のリーダーになる。
I'm okay. Wait, code. Is that the radio or something? I guess it is. So we have like 211 and then it's something and then radios. So I think there's definitely a secret code for the true ultimate ending. 11 could also be 2 dashes. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Very true. So it would be 2, 1, 1. And then I only remember seeing one radio in the apartment. But it, yeah, I don't see why it would have more though in that little apartment. Have I seen this? Oh, it's like a Lisa edition? I've not. Is that real? I look kind of scary in this light. I'm freaking myself out. Oh! Oh shit, that was loud. Oh fuck. Harold, thanks for the 29. Thank you. Did I hear Larksa do a gnome? Oh! Yeah, shut up. We go red now. No, I'm not playing that one, Skull. Any code? Oh, yeah, no, I didn't see it. I think there might not be one there because there's like 6 of these. No, nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing here. I think we go back now. We pulled 3 on this side. We gotta get back. Horror game equals PS1 graphics. Man's clueless. Man is clueless. This game actually has really good graphics, but this is part of the game mechanic that it's PS1. It's actually true. It's actually. Sup, just got here with a bad attitude. Oh. I'm dead, there's nothing I can do. Vanguard, thanks for the 5. Thank you, thank you. Also, what do you mean bad attitude? It's Friday. How can you have a bad attitude, bruv? I was talking about the dude saying Horror equals PS1. I feel amazing. Oh, yo, my bad. My bad, starting up. There's a yellow one here. Okay, that's interesting. Well, let's do this then. I guess I will fall asleep in my chair again, sad game. Why? How about you, just sleep in the bed? You fall asleep to some lo-fi with rain sounds or something. Mom?
皆様、完璧を目指せるのになぜ平凡に満足するのでしょうか。美とは単なる外見ではなく力なのです。皆様の美的潜在能力を引き出し、人生においてどこまで到達できるかを発見してください。皆様、完璧を目指せるのに
Don't see any code here. Why is he here now? What was Corpa today? It was Dune. Dune, so the Dune game, the survival game, comes on like 5 weeks or something. I didn't install any mods for Oblivion. I'm full CBT. Oh, I've done 4 of them. There's only 2 more. Okay. We need green and purple. Real Mo. Favorite horror game of all times? Silent Hill 2, probably. Or Soma. God, I hate Soma. Little Nightmare is sick. It's very good. Any code here? No code. I think we can solve 3 numbers then, maybe. Bruv? Bruv is here. Oh, Bruv is here. It's not like I can hide anywhere. Lest. Dude, there's no hiding. Oh, you don't even get one shot. Oh, this guy's soy. Jesus. But the green cord, though, this is just the way back, innit? I have to find the green cord also. No, they will be like all stream tomorrow. I think I'll do Oblivion, to be fair. Where is? I mean, Sunday. I mean Sunday, chat. I mean Sunday, alright? Lol. Lol. So lol. So silly of me to get the wrong day. Lol. Oh shit, he's actually right behind me. Lol. What the fuck is this maze, though? Oh, here's green. Okay. Sure, fuck it.